We are live one more time. It is Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. This is your host, 𝙎𝙊𝙾𝙆𝙍, Gold, Silver Pros, and we're broadcasting live. It is Cowboy Metal Live. Welcome everybody to the program. Looks like we are live and going. We have a poll up for you guys today. Does France's move mean the gold markets are decentralizing? That'll be the subject of our talk. We'll talk about France and the move to repatriate their gold from the UK vaults, and in the last couple of years to start a new trading center for gold in the European Union, or in the Europe area, to basically offset the dominance of the UK and the COMEX. Of course, we also have the Shanghai. We'll talk about that and what that means for the gold market. Welcome everybody to the program. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for you guys to pile in and to take a look at the poll. Thank you everybody for joining. I see Neil Hahn is here. Chris Jones is here. Joanna C is here. Peter Frowine riding shotgun, doing the moderating. Thank you, Peter, for joining us. Does Rob have his boots on? No, right now I don't have my boots on, but I'm going to be wearing them this weekend for sure. We're going to have some fun this weekend. I'm going to put on the boots and hat and go out. We're going to have a good time, Texas style. Welcome everybody to the program. The title of today's program is that France takes back their gold and launches a new gold trading center. What does that mean for the global gold markets? We'll talk about some other things as well. We'll talk about where we think oil could be headed. Will a bank's call of $185 oil hold? And what's up with those mask mandates? Welcome, Jenny, to the program. Jenny Alicia is here. Kenneth Martin is here. Joseph S is here. Ventana Ranja is here. Dumb Money Media is here as well. Good stuff, everybody. Thank you for joining the program. We're going to give it a couple more minutes for people to load. Remember, super chats are open, so throw your questions in super chat if you want a guaranteed answer. Otherwise, I will try to answer all the questions in the chat that I can. Remember, we have a conference coming up. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. I'm going to get all of this stuff loaded up for you guys so we can talk about it. And of course, we have a new preview video for our Investor Action Summit, which we will talk about as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining the program. Appreciate everybody being here. It looks like everything is good. Sound check is good. We have sound. We have 100 people in. Moderators here. Arlie, let's go ahead and get started. Before we get into the topic of the program, I want to debut for the first time the video that Conrad did for us for the Investor Action Summit that we're going to have on Wednesday, April 27th. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that will be next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. And here we go. Thank you, Conrad, for putting this together. I think you did a really good job this time. Everybody give him a pat on the back. COMEX. Thank you, Conrad, for putting that together. Everybody wants to watch that video again. YouTube site, and you can see this along with many other meme videos that he's done for us. Thank you so much for doing that for us. What is he referring to? It is Investor Action Summit. You will see that link down in the comments. Usually we have a pinned comment at the top of every video. It is April 27th. It will be virtual. And this is for you guys. That's why we're calling it Investor Action Summit. We're not going to have any sponsors or any companies here. We're just going to have experts in the field of precious metals and in finance working with us. Here's the list of speakers. Of course, myself, a Gold Silver Pros, David Morgan and David Smith from the Morgan Report, 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙍, one of my favorite guests of all time, from BMG Group President, one of the smartest guys in gold, Jerry Huang, who's a principal at Gemini Capital, Steve Penny from the Silver Chartist, and Stuart Englert, who wrote the book Rigged. And if you want to register the event, simply click on that button below and we'll get you into it. Remember, super chats are open if you have a question. Looks like we've got about 120 people loaded into the chat, so we'll go ahead and get started. The topic of today's program, ladies and gentlemen, is France repatriating gold, and what does that actually mean? And this was sent to me by my good friend Chris, who lives here in the area with me, from Gainesville Coins. It is a article on how France got its gold back. It started in 2013, and we think got it all back in 2016 based upon how they're reporting it from the Banque de France. And when it repatriated its gold, and started in 2013. And one of the keynote speakers of the LBMA Association Conference 2013 was the Banque de France's Director of Market Operations, 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝘿. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. And in there, he said that they were storing 91% of its tons in Paris and 9% abroad. And when they look at the website, all the gold is now stored in the vault in Paris as of about 2016. They used a Wayback Machine, or what I call the Internet Recorder, which records all websites and logs them, puts them in the Wayback Machine, that as of 12/8/2016, France had repatriated all its gold. And not only that, but they're reviving Paris as a gold trading center. This is the key part of it. Not just that they're repatriating their gold from London, but they're starting their own gold trading center, because if you remember back in history, France was a major gold trading center, along with the UK. France was a major gold trading center in Europe. And in 2018, the Banque de France's second deputy governor, Sylvie Goulard, published an article in LBMA's magazine, The Alchemist, Banque de France and Gold, Past and Future. She praises Paris as one of the main gold trading hubs next to London and New York during the gold standard. And the financial crisis in 2008 acted as a wake-up call for gold, she writes, which proved to be the opportunity for gold and for the Banque de France. And then in 2009, the Banque de France has been upgrading all its monetary gold to LBMA good delivery standards. For those of you who don't know what that means, it just means the standards of the bar in terms of the quality and the size and the weight measures and the chain of custody and things tracking that through the system adhere to some of the strictest standards in the world, the LBMA good delivery standards. And Goulard writes, as well as upgrading its stock, the Banque de France is taking various other steps to ensure it meets LBMA criteria. All large bars are weighed on electronic scales. The renovation of the historical vaults housing the gold reserves in Paris has been nearly completed. The floor will be able to support heavy forklift trucks, and intermediary shelves have been inserted. The existing shelves ensure the gold is only stacked 5 bars high, making it easier to handle. By the end of the year, a new IT system will be in place to improve the ability to respond to market operation needs. So what that means, the IT system will allow them tracking and trading of it, so it will actually be a gold trading center. Again, another alternative to COMEX in London, along with the Shanghai, along with the Dubai market and other markets around the world. It says here, building on its long experience in managing its gold reserves, in 2012, the Banque de France began to extend its range of gold services to reserve managers. While these investment gold services until now have only been offered from London, it recently became possible for the Banque de France to offer them also from Paris, thanks to a partnership with a large commercial bank that is active in the gold market. As a result, with the improvements in the Banque de France's vaults and the innovations and service offering, Paris could gradually reemerge as a key marketplace for gold. They're stating their intent to emerge as a key marketplace for gold. Remember, Texas stated its intent with the Texas vault here in the US to be an alternative to New York as well. And Tennessee, I think Senate voted unanimously to consider developing their own gold bullion center. So we're seeing lots of additional gold bullion storage and trading centers pop up around the world, Paris being one, Texas being another, Tennessee being another. Shanghai has been working with JP Morgan to extend their participation in the world commodities markets and the derivative markets. And it also noted here in this article from Gainesville that after 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙑𝙀's article was published, it became clear that JP Morgan has an account at the Banque de France. So they're probably the ones helping the Banque de France establish their IT systems and get the gold trading center up. Of course, we know that JP Morgan was also the one that is helping the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Shanghai expand into additional derivatives markets. So JP Morgan is playing all sides here as an advisor to the various gold hubs and commodity hubs around the world. And you will continue to see JP Morgan at the center of that. Of course, they also participate as one of the big bullion banks in COMEX as well. So it's very interesting, this article and what it potentially portends for the global gold market. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we have a poll. Does Francis move mean the gold markets are decentralizing? So far, 77% of you say yes. 23% of you say no. I'd like to get your comments down there. Please put them down. And of course, do the super chats if you really want to grab my attention. Let's see if you guys have any questions so far in the chat. I don't think we built the vault for that in Texas yet. Have we, Rob? Chuck Diesel asks. Yes, Texas has its own bullion depository. And the reason they built that bullion depository a few years ago, which you can put an account in, you don't have to be in Texas. You can be anywhere in the world. Open an account at the Texas Bullion Depository and store gold there. You can either buy it from them. I think you can even put your own in there as long as it meets certain standards. Yeah, that's been built. And along with, and what the comptroller said, and this is something I proposed, I gave a speech at the Silver Symposium in Idaho last year, was that the comptroller's office of Texas said that they did that as an alternative to the New York gold storage centers. They did it on purpose. Texas did it on purpose. And it was also interesting that JP Morgan has been involved in a lot of this because they're one of the connectors for all of these changes in the gold market. At the same time, the governor, Abbott, was meeting with NASDAQ and other stock market exchange officials. You can assume that probably means New York Stock Exchange and any others in the US, to talk about moving data centers down to Texas to trade the markets, moving the financial centers. So there is a lot going on in terms of not only the gold market, but financial centers around the world. Things are shifting at the same time that the world is shifting around commodity trade and geopolitical things are shifting. There's a lot shifting in the world right now. And a lot of it has to do with money, gold and silver, but also commodities that we need every day to live. All of that is changing before our eyes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to consider there in terms of what changes are being made in the global financial system, the global commodities markets. And again, remember a speech I gave at Money, Mines, and Metals back in September 2020. I said there's a war going on for commodities. Now everybody recognizes that. About a year and a half later, I said a year and a half ago at a public conference, I gave a whole speech on the realignment of world geopolitics and financial centers based upon the commodity trade, the Belt and Road Initiative, the Blue Dot Network, all of this stuff. And a year and a half later, it's now become very obvious all of these moves and what is happening. The world is realigning financially, and the world is realigning around supplies and trade of these commodities. And of course, I think that has a lot to do with Russia and Ukraine. We've talked about that before. I won't go back into detail around that. You know what my thoughts are on that. Also, we have a quote here from Scott Eldridge of Canagold Resources in a recent interview we did with him, talking about his thoughts on the commodity wars, and Goldman Sachs call that if they see inflation at 4% or higher, that they're predicting $2,500 gold. Well, we know the CPI is at 8.5%, so it's double that. So let me get that on screen and let's listen to his comments really quickly and what he thinks. This is a gold executive who has a lot of experience in this industry, what his thoughts are on exactly what is going on there.
It's almost been exacerbated by the issue in Russia and Ukraine with commodities, and it's almost an economic war versus a traditional war, in the sense that the West has placed all these sanctions on Russia, and now we're seeing counter sanctions from the Russian side, and it's almost creating a commodity war, and commodity prices are on the rise, which has a cascade effect. As I said, at the grocery store and the pump for us as consumers. So I don't see that changing overnight. And ultimately, that's probably one of the most important reasons that we can potentially see a rising gold price. And we also saw comments from Goldman Sachs that if they see inflation persist at 4% or higher, which is double where we are right now, they're predicting a $2,500 gold price for the end of the year. And I would certainly support that argument as well.
So very interesting comments from a major gold company about the commodity wars and where gold could be headed at inflation that's half the rate of it currently is now. Goldman's call there and his views on that. If you're interested in Canada Gold Resources, that is a company that has 1 million ounces of indicated and inferred gold at 10.5 grams per ton. That's right, 10.5 grams per ton. That is an absolutely astounding number. I think the direction of that company is they continue to build out their economic analysis this year, which they're going to do this year. They plan to do this year is to establish their reserves in addition to those resources, and either potentially make a mine decision to build a mine, or maybe a mid-size gold company or a mid-major takes them out, because 10.6 grams per ton and their cost basis, which is very low, and that tier 1 district in Canada is an amazing amount for a gold mine in today. And gold mines today don't produce 10.6 grams per ton at 1 million ounces. It just doesn't happen. So if you're interested in Canada Gold Resources, look at the interview we had a couple of days ago on the channel for further information. Of course, we'll have the tickers in that interview as well if you're interested in trading. They're both on the Toronto and the American stock exchanges. Thank you, Scott Eldridge, for appearing on the program and giving us your opinion on the markets. And I've got more on the world commodities markets here in a moment. I just want to look up. Thank you, Dumb Money Media, for doing a contribution to the program. He says, once the Fed starts QE again, how should we approach the market? Metals up, stocks up, rates down, or a mix of just random chaos? Well, I think this time is a little different. I think that's going to be during or after the melt up. So I think what's going to happen, the Fed's going to try to tighten. They're going to raise interest rates. They're going to actually, we think, deleverage their balance sheet of the treasuries have already bought, although I'm not sure it's actually happened yet. They keep talking about it. So it's the reversal of 12 years basically of QE, quantitative easing, or basically money printing and debt creation. And when they do that, it's going to crash markets. If Q4 2018 is any indication, because that's exactly what happened in Q4 2018. The Fed had been slowly raising interest rates all year. They got over 2%, and the markets, stock markets retracted by 20%. And that was with them actually without doing a lot of them doing tightening in terms of running off their balance sheet, getting rid of their treasuries. It was just mostly interest rates. So if the Fed does the twin program, the dual program of raising interest rates this year and deleveraging their balance sheet and dumping their treasuries, and they are no longer the last buyer of resort for our US debt, I think it's going to crash the markets. And yes, they're going to come back out to QE, but at that point, I think the genie's out of the bottle. At that point, I think it's helicopters of money are going to have to come out, depending on how bad the crash is. Now, I think the Fed's going to try to manage it, but I'm beyond the view that they can do that at this point. Good question. And thank you again, Conrad, Dumb Money Media, for doing the preview video for the conference. We appreciate that. It was a great video. And it reminded me of 90s video games when I used to play video games growing up. It was a lot of fun. And so I appreciated it. I've got another note for you on the markets. We're going to go to King Oil. That's right, King Oil, a story in Zero Hedge. EU to impose full embargo on Russian oil next week will send price above $185, according to JP Morgan. Once again, you see JP Morgan in the middle of the commodities markets. Who rules the commodities markets? Who's the super bank? It would be one JP Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. It says, what was largely a theoretical modeling exercise until moments ago is set to go live because Reuters reports that the European Union is set to declare a full embargo on Russian oil after this weekend's French election. EU gas price to shoot up as EU to declare embargo on Russian oil after French election next week. Source. And according to JP Morgan in the article, they anticipate $185 oil. That would be the highest oil price that I can remember in memory. It might be the highest of all time, I think. Your oil experts tell me. But again, what did we hear from Scott Eldridge? What have we been saying on our program? Commodities wars, geopolitical realignment, moving of commodities markets out of their traditional centers, challenging the traditional centers. A lot of that is going on right now. Big changes in the financial world, big changes. I want to hear your thoughts down in the chat. What does this mean? Marcos asks in the chat. What does this mean? Well, if energy goes up to $185 a barrel. Look at what happened to trucking when it hit years ago, $140 a barrel. A lot of the truckers I know went out of business because you had over $5 diesel average across the US, even in cheaper places like Texas, where I live, where we do our own refining. Even then it was over $5. In other states it was $6 and $7. And I've seen as high as $9 a gallon gas reported out of California right now. And that's at current oil prices. We're not at $185. So we have $185. That energy input, oil, into transportation, into manufacture of goods, into a lot of things is going to increase prices. So what are we going to get? Much higher inflation. That's exactly what's going to happen. We're not going to have an 8.5% CPI. We may get a 10% CPI. And again, remember at the beginning of last year, I said we're going to hit double-digit inflation. And I think the end of last year, I said we're going to hit it this year. And I think that call is going to be exactly correct. Also think about airlines when they have to pay for kerosene, because kerosene, diesel, distillates, regular unleaded gas, all that stuff comes out of a barrel of oil. It's all separated in the manufacturing process. So all of those different fuel sources are going to be affected. So just expect prices to continue to go up. Good question. Thank you, Marcos. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to answer that question. Chuck Diesel says, I wonder how my oil stock is going to do if oil shoots up that high. It wasn't doing well and prices were 138. Yeah, a lot of it depends, because if prices are so high, people stop buying, then, and you know, that affects the supply demand dynamic. You could see the stocks of the oil companies change. It depends on how that supply demand dynamic occurs. Yeah, you could have higher prices for oil, but if people can't afford it and the net overall volume goes down, that could adversely affect the oil companies. We'll have to see what happens. Of course, remember, oil goes into all costs. So even though the oil companies may be selling it for $185 a barrel, they have to absorb those higher costs in their businesses as well. So it's not just such a straight answer that $185 oil or higher oil prices benefits oil companies. You have to look at the entire supply chain, and every company is affected by that. Thank you, Joseph S., for the contribution. The exact date we officially get sound money back. Good question. I have no idea. I mean, I would say this. I've got sound money right now. I've got silver sitting on my desk, and you can barter that back and forth. There's nothing wrong with doing that right now. So sound money's back if you have sound money and you have other people that are willing to use sound money. It's constitutionally allowed, to use silver and gold as money. So you could do it right now. When will the governments ever do it? I don't think that they want to do it. I think they want to do central bank digital currencies. Could we, the people, stand up and do it? I think some of us already are. Will that become widespread? Probably when the dollar crashes as a result of all the things that we've been talking about. Exact date, nobody knows. But you kind of just look at the milestones of what's going on, what we talk about in the program, and you can see we're getting inching ever closer. It seems like it's taking forever, but that's a good thing. It gives time for people to prepare and to be aware of what is going on, so we don't want to rush it. What about U.S. strategic reserves? Asked Matthew Islabi. Hopefully I got your name correct. The strategic oil reserves are only a few days worth of energy consumption in the U.S., according to my understanding. So it's only meant to ease very temporary supply disruptions, and a lot of that's already been released by the Biden administration. So we don't have a full strategic reserve right now, and there's no way to store all that. I mean, there are caverns in the U.S., but you have to go make them ready, and not have water leaking in the oil and stuff like that. So it's not like we can just start filling up a bunch of new caverns. They have to be addressed in a way in which you can do that. So it's not something that can easily be adjusted up or up in a very short period of time. And they're not full right now because the Biden administration's already announced that they're releasing that to deal with the current issues in oil. And given this European basically embargo or sanction on Russian oil, it's going to make the situation worse because Russia has a lot of oil, a lot of natural gas. This is not good for the world. Okay, this geopolitical conflict between Russia, Ukraine, and all the nations standing on the side of Ukraine and all these sanctions is not good for us. It's not good for we the people. That's for damn sure. All right, we have one more thing to share with you. Actually, I think we've shared everything in terms of our news for the day. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to talk to you about. The Transportation Security Administration in the U.S. is no longer enforcing mask mandates on public transportation. That is right. You no longer have to wear a mask on a plane or on a bus or any type of formal transportation. They will not be enforcing it. And that's after a Florida court ruled that the extension of the existing mandate was, I don't know if they ruled it unconstitutional or just violated whatever, the existing laws were, but a Florida court ruled against it. The Biden administration has said they're going to drop it. They're not going to enforce it. The TSA is not going to enforce it. So finally, over 2 years later, we no longer have to wear masks when we travel. And along those lines, Uber has also dropped its mask mandate on Uber as well. That's not public transportation, that's private, but they were enforcing it through the app. And now you no longer have to do that. So it looks like the masks have come off. We don't know how long that's going to happen, but that's a positive development, I think, because we're wearing masks long past the real danger zone for COVID, and the masks were shown not to work anyway, especially cloth masks. Even the N95s weren't great, but they were better than the cloth ones. Cloth ones really didn't do anything. So good news, we no longer have to wear masks. That's an update that came out the last couple of days. Today it was reported on very widely. Positive development. Let's take a look at the poll real quick, guys. We've been going almost 30 minutes. We got 250 people, and thank you everybody for joining, by the way. The poll up, and I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now at the current vote. We've had 111 votes out of about 244 of you. About half of you voted. Does France's move mean the gold markets are decentralized? You remember that's the establishing of the gold trade center in France after they repatriated all their gold in 2016, and then working on their IT systems and getting that gold trading center up. Does it mean the gold markets are decentralizing? 77% of you said yes, 23% no. We'll go ahead and end that poll. I think it is part of the decentralization. You have to look at the expansion of the Shanghai market. You have to look at the Texas Bullion Depository, the potential of the Tennessee Depository, a lot of other things to show that, yes, we are decentralizing. Dubai basically rebuffing the LBMA, trying to control the last 2 years, the standards and the trade around gold for the entire world, even though London doesn't control that. I think the whole world is basically rejecting the COMEX and London schemes very slowly. And I think we're going to see, along with regionalization of trade and regionalization of production of commodities and deglobalization of supply chains, we're also going to see regionalization of commodities derivative markets, which means we're going to have multiple prices. I'm calling it now. We have multiple prices for gold, for oil, for sugar, for hogs, everything is coming. Exactly when that happens, I don't know, but the stage has been set for that. So depending on where in the world you live, you could pay more or less for the same thing. That's deglobalization, along with decentralization, along with de-dollarization. It's a bunch of D's going on right now. Thank you everybody for joining the program. I'm looking for interesting questions. I don't see anybody at the moment. Thank you, Peter Frohwein, for all of your support and being our moderator, riding shotgun with us today. William Iannucci says, look up Rafi Farber. He's a good Jew. Not that that matters to me. This is just his comment. Watch after June 30 says the gold to silver ratio going to 15-1. Yeah, Rafi Farber is a friend of mine. I know him very well. We both wrote for Seeking Alpha. I was the first one to bring him on YouTube before he had a channel. I brought him to one of my conferences, my virtual conferences. Remember, we have another one next week, April 27th. It's like our 6th or 7th now. But I brought him to one of my conferences, and then I helped get him onto my program, and then he got onto Chris Marcus's program, �モ𝙁, where he does I understand he does a weekly show now on the markets. He has a great newsletter. It's a paid newsletter over at Seeking Alpha called The Endgame Investor. Check him out. It's great. I had a subscription to that for the longest time. I fully respect Rafi Farber, good friend of mine, and I agree with the recommendation of Rafi Farber. He's now kind of all over the place, does great work. Good friend. Appreciate Rafi and all the stuff he's done. Thank you for pointing that out. Scott W. says decarbonization. Wouldn't that be great if we get rid of the whole carbon credit scheme? I'll leave that to you guys to figure out what I mean there. I don't want to go too far because YouTube will probably ban me, but that's okay. Maybe we'll have everything and get rid of all the stuffs, all the globalist programs. Let's just get rid of them all. Thank you everybody for joining today. We're running about 250. This is awesome. Thank you for the 83 likes that we have so far. Thank you for the 2 people that have contributed via super chats. Remember, next week, there is a link down below in the comments. Next week, April 27th, we have the Awesome Investor Action Summit. It's going to be me and a group of friends, guys, and it's not formal. We've got no sponsors and no companies coming. I did this on purpose. I just decided it was time for us to talk to the investors and have plans for how we can deal with what's going on in the world. I've got some great guys there. I'm going to show you guys real quick the agenda. Give me just a moment and get that loaded up on the screen so we can talk about it. It's going to be via Hopin, because Hopin's the easiest way to do it. It is an absolutely free ticket. And here's what we got going on. We start off 12 to 12:40. I will give my presentation on gold, why this time is different, an updated presentation on what's going on in the world with gold, some of the things we've been talking about, the stock market, things like that. I've updated that. That will lead off. I'll give the keynote. 12:40 to 1:10. Steve Penny, the silver chartist, one of the smartest guys in any room you will ever walk into in any summit or any investment conference, is going to give us a presentation on how to craft a personalized long-term exit strategy. This guy is extremely intelligent. He has a service. I believe we're an affiliate for that. Look for the sign up link in the description of this video, that Steve has a service now. He has a double service. He has his existing service, and then he upped it for people that want to trade on a more daily basis. Go check that out. Steve is an extremely smart and capable trader. We've got him at the conference for free for you guys, helping you out. I've got Jerry Huang, one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. He's a CFO of Impact Silver, a silver miner in Mexico, and a principal at Gemini Capital, which is a finance organization helping companies with financing, giving a lecture on sharing trader collar systems for a portfolio. This is going to be an advanced session talking about trading collar systems. You guys that get really technical into this stuff, come to that session. Jerry is a maestro at this kind of stuff, and he knows what he is talking about. Then we have from 1:40 to 10 p.m. the Table of Titans. We've got David Morgan and David Smith in the Morgan Report, myself, the hero 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝘍, president of BMG Group, and Stuart Engler, editor and writer of Rigged, exposing the largest financial fraud in history. And then from 2:10 to 3:30 p.m. Central Time, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be all of us. We're going to jump into a session. I'll come on screen. Anybody else that wants to can come on screen, and it's going to be a one-on-one. It's going to be a Q&A. You can ask any question you want of me or anybody else in there, anything that you want, and we will answer it for you. I'm going to go casual to this thing. We're going to have fun. We're going to have some music. We're going to have interaction. I'm going to be drinking a beer in the last session, not during the conference presentations. We'll be professional there, but I'll be drinking a beer during the last session. And guys, we're going to blow it out. We're doing this for you. This is for you. I brought the smartest people I know to help give you the strategies you will need to survive and thrive in this world. It is a free summit. We're not getting a dime for it. We're putting on at our own dime and bringing you some, the best people I can to help you guys, because I think the situation in the world is getting so very tenuous and so very risky that we want to help you out. And remember, at these conferences, I don't have any controls about what I can talk about. So we can talk about all sorts of things, especially in that last session. So come with any topic that you want to talk about, as long as you're not, cursing on screen or doing anything like that, but come with any topic you want to talk about and we will talk about it. This is your place, uncensored, public speech, right to assemble on the platform. Come join us, be a part of the community, because we love you so much. I love you guys so much, and I wanted to do this for you guys. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Thank you, everybody, for joining the program. This is going to be a bit of a short one today. We've got more content coming later this week, some really exciting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I have a interview with Ian from ARC Silver, the cheapest silver on the planet, on Thursday, health permitting, assuming none of us comes down with anything. And on Friday, we have Steve Penny of Silver Chartist on to talk about his services and his views on the market. Two of the smartest guys in the market will be on the channel this week, leading up to our awesome kick-ass conference, Wednesday, April 27th, free to the public. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us on the channel. Oh, I got one more question from Marcos. Rob, how do you feel about using available bank funds to buy physical silver? I'm all for it. I'm not your financial advisor. Do your own research, contact your own financial advisor of choice. Don't listen to anything that I say or trade on it. This is just for entertainment and research purposes only. That disclaimer aside, I use every available dollar I have to invest either in the precious metals or other investments that I think are good long-term investments with value, or businesses and or people that are doing things that I think are positive for the world and positive for society. So yeah, I don't keep a lot of money in the bank for that reason. What you do is up to you. You got to determine how much liquidity you need for your monthly expenditures and what you want to invest in, make your own decisions. That's what I do. So yeah, I mean, if you feel like you want to get involved in precious metals and you've got some available cash and it's not going to hurt you financially, you know, over the next 4 to 5 months, your liquidity and bills that you got to pay, then maybe you want to consider buying the precious metals. Again, Thursday, if you want to know where to get the cheapest silver on the planet, at least to my knowledge, okay, watch me and Ian talk about it. He runs Arc Silver. He gets the best damn silver deals. I don't know how he does it, but he passes his savings along to you. I have bought a 1,000-ounce bar from him. I have bought kilo bars from him. I have gotten 40% Morgan halves from him, cheaper than any place on the planet. So stay tuned to that on Thursday. And yes, now I do have a 1,000-ounce silver bar. Now it is spoken for. I have sold it to Silverback Metals. Jim Forsyth, our good friend who also runs Citizens for Sound Money, has a machine in which he chops those 1,000-ounce bars up into 10 and 25 ounces and sells it at Silverback Precious Metals. I believe there's going to be a video done on this when he gets my bar. I'm going to be the 24th bar he's cutting up. So I'm taking that bar and giving it to Jim so that he can bring you slices of one of those 1,000-ounce bars that came off of the COMEX from one of those depositories and brings it to you at very, very cheap prices. So stay tuned for that. We'll announce that when it happens. A lot of fun that we're going to have, guys. Thank you so much for joining the program. I appreciate all of you. I think we're going to have some additional content this week. We got Thursday and Friday for sure. Next week, we have more big stuff for you guys, including the conference on Wednesday. We do it all for you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Big story came out recently in Gainesville Coins. France takes back its gold and launches new gold trading center. Another competitor for the COMEX. JP Morgan has helped facilitate this in France, apparently, according to the story, and China and around the world. And I wouldn't surprise me if they were involved with the Texas Bullion Depository in Texas as well. They're at the center of all of this. Pay attention to what JP Morgan says, especially that story I brought to you today when they're predicting $185 oil. JP Morgan knows what's talking about, both in gold and the commodities. They're at the center of a lot of this. They do a lot of derivative trading. They have a big trading desk. They're experts in this field. They're helping people facilitate world global trade. And so pay attention when JP Morgan speaks here. Listen to them. Higher prices are coming. You heard it here on the channel. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Oh, as a reminder, thank you to Danny for putting this up in the chat. We're now in Gab, BitChute, and Rumble. We're expanding out into other channels. We intended to do that last year. We just didn't have the resources to do it. But we're going to more media platforms, Gab, BitChute, and Rumble. And we're going to start TikTok. We're going to get this done. We've been promising that for a couple months. We're trying to figure out the right formula, but we're going to get on TikTok. We're going to go as many platforms as is humanly possible to bring you guys this in multiple different places to get more eyeballs on it. We feel that strongly about it. Remember, everybody, every Tuesday night live, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, Cowboy Metals Lives, where we broadcast from the great state of Texas. And we take no bullshit and we tell you the truth. And we're not a lot of the influencers on YouTube, I don't believe really know what they're talking about. I think we do. I think we bring you the no BS version. And I think that's why you come here, because you know that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not pulling any punches. I'm a former auditor. I don't play games and I don't play favorites. And we're going to bring you the best here on the channel. Appreciate everybody for supporting us. Till next time, this is Rob Keats, goldsilverpros.com.